New card. What do you think?
Get over here! Hadouken!
That man is playing Galaga.
I understood that reference.
You shall not pass!
So say we all.
Ride with me.
It's adamantium tasting time, boys.
Well, make it so, number one.
All wings report in.
And welcome to your weekly interval. This is the Best Damn Nerd Show. I am your host, Microphone Alchemist James Kincaid. With me tonight, Imperial Commissar Jeff Budd.
Is your ass ready to be rocked?
Boosh, 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 boosh. And Professor Chris Davis.
Let's get ready, Rick.
Wow.
You got it.
Belch, perfectly timed. And you
You son of a bitch, I'm in.
Usually I rail against that as very poor audio etiquette. But and Mark Truex, you know it's you by and large. But given that the topic du jour tonight will be all things Adult Swim, and Rick and Morty being a big part of that, well done, Davis. Very, very well done.
It's instant classic, and probably too much so these days because Jeff and I can't get into hall, whatever the hall that is anymore. The Indigo. It's not even a hall.
The Indigo ballroom.
It's a ballroom. Oh, the ballroom on that one.
Well, welcome back to the Best Damn Nerd Show, everybody. We have a little bit of business to take care of off the top, a little bit of housekeeping.
What's all this business?
That's exactly what it is. Business. Can be dropping a lot of quotes, most of them probably from Frisky Dingo on this episode. Hey, think you could bench a Scion TC. Anyway, Davis, what have you been up to? Let's get an update on your game stonk. You know, how smooth is your brain right now?
Oh, this smooth brain aped is feeling good because GameStop has come back from the doldrums, and I thought John Craig had really taught me a lesson on this one. It was not looking good. I mean, we got up to, oh man, it got above 400, and it went down to $40.
Oh.
And at that point, you have to have diamond hands because you're pretty much at zero anyways. So you're not going to get out of it. So it was just, hold on.
Nothing more dangerous than a cornered animal.
Oh my god.
Nothing more dangerous than a cornered smooth-brained ape.
Ready for takeoff and ready to go. So
I'm going to ride the Annihilatrix all the way to the moon.
An ape is more dangerous than a jackal when cornered. So you're holding strong, Davis.
Well, yeah, no, I've been holding. There's another host on the show that's been holding as well. And we both bought the dip, actually. We bought the dip pretty low. And
wait, is Tim in on this?
I will not.
You can neither confirm nor deny what the other host is.
It's absolutely Tim.
It's yeah. Him and I have had quite the conversations about this. It's been going great. But yeah, we both bought the dip, and it kind of evened out our high marks. So it's been going well because we're back to around the 270 mark at this point, and it's kind of been hovering there for a few days, and all the diamond hands, the original diamond hands seem to all be holding. And so it seems to be going well, but I don't understand it. I don't know what's going on. It's going up, it's going down. We'll see what happens.
I mean, in doing that episode, I was incredibly confused by the whole ordeal. Neither you or John really did anything to help improve my understanding about the situation. I just knew that you both wanted the other to lose, it seemed. From what I could gather is that John is siding with the already rich, and you're
the already rich are on both sides of it.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the point.
Yeah.
The only
John,
thing
is,
like, you listen to that
richer
conversation, it's like, who knows less, Davis or John? And I mean, it's like,
immovable
object, meets an unstoppable force.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just two idiots arguing with each other.
WrestleMania 3 of just idiocy.
And then the idiocy spilled over into the Discord as the conversation continued. I was like, I don't know what the fuck you guys are talking about. Here's a Goku meme.
Well, I appreciate you coming in there, meme jock, because the episode
Always.
discussion that followed was equally as convoluted and it was difficult to follow. But so you're holding strong, Davis. What's your outlook on life right now?
Well, I think I'll get out at about 6,942. So, 69,420. I think that's my sell point.
Wow.
And that seems to be the consensus of the Diamond Hands group, is that it's going to be around that level that we'll get out. But we're holding strong.
You guys
the internet
are all
was a mistake.
Yeah, we're all doomed.
It's a lot of people that don't know what they're doing and just making some great memes, some great trailers for the movie that will eventually become from this story. And,
They don't make movies anymore.
It's all just streaming.
Made for Netflix.
Oh yeah, Netflix makes movies.
You're gonna be the star of Stonk King, and it's just gonna be. I will never financially recover from this.
I'm pretty sure I've used that meme. Well, on the downfall, that was a pretty steep decline. So.
God. Well, I again, just like in the last time we discussed this, I don't know who to root for, you or John, but I want
Davis,
to make.
He's got money in on it.
This shouldn't be a question. John's just bitter from a past.
Mark and I
But if you're listening to what Davis is saying,
whatever happens, we were just hoping Davis got out of it okay.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I hope you get out of it more than okay, and let's put it towards a Comic-Con trip in probably 5 to 10 years when they actually have it in person again. Just announced, in the past week or so, right? Comic-Con will be virtual yet again.
We'll buy a Comic-Con virtual compound. How about that?
Great. Perfect. Well, hopefully it's better in quality and content than last year's was.
That is a steep ask.
It's a low bar.
Yeah, it won't take
bar.
much, but do you think they'll actually do it?
I hope they learn from DC Fandom, which obliterated it in about 30 seconds in terms of quality. But Jeff, what have you been up to? I know you've been playing some board games. You've dipped a toe into Catan.
Oh yes, I have. I bought it with the last of my Christmas gift cards at Barnes & Noble. I don't buy books anymore.
Yeah.
I use my Amazon gift cards to buy books on my Kindle, and I use my Barnes & Noble gift cards to buy board games.
The world turned upside down.
I'm a mess. But yeah, I've never actually played Settlers of Catan before, or just Catan now.
Oh, wow.
Is it just Catan now?
Yeah, it's just Catan, and I think they did that for branding purposes, just to avoid confusion, so that people wouldn't think that Settlers of Catan was like another expansion or something like that. And
I don't like
that's
that.
just the name. Well, I mean, it's the exact same game, so I think you can relax.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just anyway. I digress. It reeks of like WWE shorting a name for no reason. It's just I just don't like the dropping of it.
Okay.
I think anyway. Continue on. Are you enjoying Catan, as it were?
I absolutely love it. It's a simple life. I just like being on that island and farming and trading with people, building my roads, turning my settlements into cities. The world is not at stake. I'm not going through portals. I'm not fighting monsters. I'm not worried about what other players at the table are hidden traitors. It's all just out there for me to see. It's fine.
Sounds boring.
We have a bandit roaming around, and I'm not comfortable about that. But I can play my knights to keep them away, so I feel okay.
Jeff just looks at his gear that's locked away in his trunk in the deepest, darkest corner of his little cabin. It's like, no, can't go back down that road again. Just let somebody else will deal with the bandit. I've sworn off violence.
I mean, Catan, it's a peaceful life.
A farmer.
A gamer of my talents.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it definitely is a for what you're coming from, and talking about all the Flying Frog games and stuff like that, and Brimstone and just the immense sort of.
Well, yeah, it doesn't have the footprint that those games have, which is always nice. It doesn't have the same kind of setup time, which is lovely. And sometimes it's nice. I like playing a game that has simple rules but complex strategy, and there's a lot of replayability and stuff like that. So. Yeah, I'm really getting a kick out of it. I don't really need any of the expansions yet, but I mean that's something that I'll probably want to do down the road. I want the Seafarers one. Yeah. I want to do more with aquatic trade, but right now I'm fine with just the base game.
I mean, it must sort of feel like training at altitude for you, given the games that you normally play. So yeah, it's
Oh,
a
I
nice,
don't. I
it's a
don't want to
nice
sound
change
like
of
some
pace.
sort of gamer douche. Like, oh, Jeff
No.
really knows his games and stuff. And I'm not thumbing my nose down at Catan. I'm glad that I finally got a chance to play it because obviously it's one of those games that not only did I constantly see it all over the place, but everybody always talks about it. Everybody always assumed that I had played it and maybe even
Yeah.
owned it. I think part of the reason why I didn't jump into it is I was a Carcassonne guy, which I mean is almost like the same game but not as widespread. And so like I used to play that. I used to play it while watching Adult Swim, honestly, with some friends many years ago. And so I feel like I liked that game so much, and if I was ever going to buy one, I was like, I'll buy that one. And then there
Yeah.
was only like one expansion, and I think that's part of the reason why I never really bit the bullet and bought it myself is there wasn't that much growth. Where with Catan, I mean, it's a hobby I can go down for a little while if I want to.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to insinuate that you'd be a gamer douche, but just it is nice sometimes as a change of pace, like playing Call to Adventure. It's just such an easy setup, and it's just like it's not time prohibitive in terms of like, hey, can we get a game of Catan in or a game of Call to Adventure? And it's pretty easy to set up, which at times is what you really need.
I think that's part of the allure of Battle Ball too, honestly.
Absolutely.
It's like, yeah, we've got a few games like that you and I like to. I mean, fuck, I'll just play a game of chess, honestly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's nice to have different games that scratch different itches, and I always enjoy expanding my collection where I can.
Perfect segue for an email that you and I got earlier this week. A little bit of an update
Virkly?
on Hero Quest. Wait, was that?
No, I said really.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Hero Quest,
yeah.
bro.
I'm sorry. I totally had forgotten about the Hero Quest email, even though it was like what, yesterday?
Yeah. Well, by the time people are hearing this, who knows? But yeah, Hero Quest, the Kickstarter sent out an update. Jeff, please regale us with what the content of that was and what your just thoughts are. So, is it sort of approaching ish? I mean, we're still like a ways away, but it was nice to get an update.
Do you really think the guy who forgot about the email should be the one doing the recap on the email?
Well, you're the board game guy.
I never read the email. I just saw that we got one and I looked at the pictures.
Well, that's actually exactly what I did as well. I saw I saw like a bunch of work, which is why I asked you to do. So
I saw that one thing that they're doing is they are probably going to color code the miniatures like the old game, where the heroes were one color and the different monster classes were different colors too. That way, if you're not into painting the miniatures, which plenty of people aren't, you can still like at a glance kind of group all the different things together. So that'll be nice because when they were first proposing this game coming out, everything was just like the same tan color or something like that. So yeah, that was one of the things that people were bitching about. There were a lot of things that people were bitching about, and that was one of them. It was, for me, it was just a relief to hear something. Not that I was worried about Hasbro dropping the ball with this, since they could have just produced the game without the backing.
Yeah.
But I mean, you still want to hear that progress is being made, and we're still globally, recovering in certain ways from the pandemic. So you want to make sure that factories are up and running, and things are meeting their deadlines, and the game actually is going to come out at least roughly with what they promised, which I want to say is like August or September of this year.
September, I think was
September. Okay.
Promise, yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. Just thinking about not only the quests that you and I know and love from the original game, but all the extra quests that we're going to be getting, just the new adventures that you and I are going to be going down. Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it with the email, I was talking about it with Riku today on the Discord, and he was saying he's like, oh, he's looking forward to hearing Brimstone status updates and adventures from you and I. And I was just thinking, I was like, Hero Quest has lent us like so many fun stories and narratives, and if you haven't listened to our Hero Quest episode, I definitely recommend it. It was, I think, one of my favorites to record because I love talking about the game, and you and I have such a rich history with it now for years. I mean, for the bulk of our friendship, it's like we've been playing that game and doing those quests together. So and just thinking of like my childhood and all the fun adventures I had playing with my family as well, and some of my other friends.
And getting the creator himself, Stephen Baker, on that episode too to talk about the relaunch of the game was very cool. So definitely check it out in the archives.
It was really refreshing listening to him speak about it too, and just how enthusiastic about the project he still is, and how much love and kind of like work he had put into it originally. It also just takes me back to like a simpler time with board games and what was expected, and also like what Games Workshop was like back then. I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's a different world, unfortunately.
It really is. But man, you are hitting rocks tonight when it comes to segues, because you talk about discussing Hero Quest in the Discord with Riku. The reason why we are doing this topic tonight, why we are recording this episode, is because Nerdy Award winner Riku messaged me on Discord. That's bestdamnerdshow.com/Discord. And he waived his right to give John Craig a kick in the balls, and instead decided
you're going to regret that, Riku.
I tried to talk him out of it.
Those.
Yeah, I tried to talk him out of it, but in lieu of that, he decided to go down the door number 2, which is to suggest a topic that we do here on the Best Damn Nerd Show, and he suggested that we do an Adult Swim retrospective. And I mean, great idea. Well, in the like, as we've approached this episode, there's just certain things and sort of spiral off conversations that throughout our friendships and stuff like that. It's like, man, what a great idea for a topic that I can't believe we haven't done before. So thank you for the suggestion, Riku. This episode is dedicated to your nerdy award-winning performance in the Discord. So so let's get it going. Adult Swim. When I first sort of approached you with the topic, Jeff, what was your thoughts on doing this?
Boy, that it's massive.
Yeah.
Just want to apologize to the listeners up front that we are not going to be able to cover all of the titles, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We're not going to be able to deep dive in all the things that we want to. Just think of this as like more of a wider selection and then a taste of like what's to come, because we definitely want to revisit some of these topics and, maybe do more of a focus on some of them. But then when you were asking me about Adult Swim, I started just trying to like dig back, and it's like, what was it like when I was first watching it? What was Adult Swim like decades ago now versus, well, I don't even know what it's like anymore. I don't watch it anymore. But yeah, I remember like the old Adult Swim promos where it was like Adult Swim at a public pool, all kids out of the pool and play the lifeguard whistle and everything. And one of the first panels at Comic-Con I ever went to was for Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law / Aqua Teen Hunger Force. And I had never seen those shows before. And they each played an entire episode, which was great, and had a panel for it and everything. And I mean, I was instantly a fan of both. And so I couldn't wait to watch them on Adult Swim after that. It was the Flintstone Sopranos episode for Harvey Birdman. And for Aqua Teen Hunger Force, it was when they needed they needed an organ or something for Meat. Did Meatwad need like a heart? Or no, he needed a brain. That's what he needed. And they gave him the toy. He's like, that's a squeaky dog toy. That ain't a real brain. And then Carl he's like, yeah, I got a friend. He's sort of like a jack of all trades of black market organs. And they dropped off a cooler. It was like an actual human brain on ice. So those were the 2 episodes I saw of those shows first, and I was instantly a fan. And then what's kind of sad is I was at the last panel for Aqua Teen Hunger Force ever, like the last panel they had for the last season. And at that point it was in not Ballroom 20, excuse me, the Hilton Ballroom, Indigo Ballroom, where the original one was like in 6 BCF, the Hatch Suite, basically, that giant room.
Nice.
Because it was
Richard
an older
Hatch
Comic-Con,
Memorial
so it's like
Ballroom.
they weren't even using all the rooms in the convention yet. I don't think they were even opening up Hall H for people. So that was still a huge room. That was one of the biggest rooms that were available at the time. But it was just kind of weird. And it's like, oh man, I'm saying goodbye to a lot of old friends, because Master Shake for the longest time was like my favorite character on Adult Swim.
Yeah.
And I don't think he was usurped until Xander Cruz came on the scene. Like, I loved Master Shake, and I loved Carl. Those were my 2 favorite characters from Aqua Teen. And then I was a huge Harvey Birdman fan.
Davis, how about you? When we first approached you about doing this, what went through sort of the Davis's smooth brain?
It's I didn't realize how many shows really fell into this, and because and you look back and you research a little just to make sure that you're not going to miss your favorites, and dear Lord, there are far too many. I will say what started me was definitely Aqua Teen, Frisky Dingo. Frisky Dingo was just gold. just
And we're gonna get into that very much so in this episode.
But you have Boondocks, you have Venture Brothers, all of these beginning shows back in the early 2000s. For me, that's probably when I mostly started watching, was high school years, and like really understanding the intricacies of the type of comedy they were going for, and like it's different. It's not for everyone, and you find the people that really understand the humor and know what to wait for, and it's special. It's different. It's not everybody's cup of tea, and you find the people that like it, and you're like, yeah, this guy gets it. I'm liking him. So
and like Jeff said, this is going to be kind of just a broad love letter to many of the shows on Adult Swim, and I apologize in advance to any shows that we leave out, much like some of the Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter characters or things that get left out in other sorts of episodes. It's just when we get caught up in the conversation.
Sorry, Ermac.
Hey, sorry, Kenshi. So it's just stuff happens like that, and then time has gotten away from us, as it already is tonight, to be honest with you. So I want to just give a little bit more of a background in terms of what I thought of when we were getting ready to do this, and that was Space Ghost Coast to Coast. And that show and Adult Swim at large was concepted by Mike Lazo of Adult Swim. He actually left just this past year. And, so Space Ghost Coast to Coast, that debuted in 1994. And so I know this predates Adult Swim a little bit. And even though I know Space Ghost was on part of it, it's on there for part of its run. To me, Space Ghost Coast to Coast is so integral to Adult Swim and what it would become, because it really was sort of the progenitor of Adult Swim. So it's very important in that sense. And as Adult Swim is celebrating its 20th anniversary. Actually, it officially launched in 2001. So happy 20th to Adult Swim. My earliest memories of what I wanted to talk about was Space Ghost Coast to Coast, because that show to me was, I loved it as a kid. Even, sometimes if maybe some of the sort of skewering of late night talk show humor was lost on me a little bit in 1994, I immediately was just so captivated by the dim-witted charisma of the host, Space Ghost. Like he is so incredible. So many episodes, and just the impact and the influence that it would go on to have throughout all of Adult Swim and Cartoon Network, and the idea of taking content from this old superhero show and repurposing it at very low budget cost to make this brand new show. I mean, what a stroke of genius by Mike Lazo to do that. And also, for me, I think I've talked about this on the Nerd Show before, maybe not, maybe just in conversation or online, but Space Ghost in general is a big inspiration for the Best Damn Nerd Show for me. And in terms of just this superhero talk show host, it's like, God, I love to talk and I love superheroes. It was a perfect marriage, especially as I got older. And it's so Space Ghost is something that is very special to me, and is always like very, very tied to this whole conversation that we're going to have. And what were I guess, were you guys Space Ghost fans as well, Jeff?
I wasn't, but my dad was a big Space Ghost, because he was a fan of the original show. He grew up as a kid watching the original Space Ghost, and so he was like a big fan of the talk show, and that's when I first saw it. I don't know if you guys even used to watch Cartoon Network like at night back then, but
yes,
it was just reruns of Warner Brothers and Hanna-Barbera cartoons, and then they would just like after a certain hour, they would just replay everything that they played again, and that's just like Popeye would be on, like in the middle of the night. That was like whatever their Adult Swim was. So I guess like the success of Coast to Coast is what made them decide to branch off and do other things. And I mean, repurposing Space Ghost into a talk show host is how you get Harvey Birdman as an attorney and all those other things. And yet, C-Lab, where they took the footage again and then just repurposed it, which was hilarious. But I wasn't as big a Space Ghost fan, but I did think it was cool that the show was kind of a big deal because it had a ton of guests and
great
everybody
guests.
seemed to know about it. And I just thought it was kind of cool that everybody played along and was being interviewed by a cartoon. So I thought that part was awesome.
It's still a goal of mine to get George Lowe, the person that voices Space Ghost, to come on and do an interview on this show, but as Space Ghost. I like all respect to George Lowe, who's, in his career and everything, but I want to talk to Space Ghost as one of my great influences. It's funny you talk about Cartoon Network late at night. That's how I discovered Space Ghost. I was on a trip with my dad, and we checked into the hotel or whatever, and I didn't get Cartoon Network at home at the time, but I remember flipping it on, and it was late, and you could stay up late. I think we just gone to Denny's and gotten a Grand Slam with the base, complete with the baseball cards, holograms they were giving away at the time. But flipping on Cartoon Network, and this Space Ghost show was on, and I thought I was like, this is amazing. And so like for that, we took a couple more trips. This might have been when we were actually moving from Oregon back down to California. And so every stop would be like, I got to check and see if this Space Ghost show is on. And I was hooked immediately. So it's I always think of that when it comes to Space Ghost, because that's how I discovered it. And then I think there was an episode on the front of the Mask VHS. I want to say maybe some movie that there was a Space Ghost episode like encapsulated on the front of a VHS tape, which I just watched to death. But Davis, how about you? Were you a Space Ghost guy?
I was not. And it took me...
Stand alone.
Yeah, no, you were alone on this one. And I actually recently started rewatching Space Ghost because I'm like, okay, what was I missing here? Because it wasn't really a show that I started on, and it's hit and miss for me. It doesn't always hit, but when it does, it is hilarious. There are some gold in there, but then there is just some absolute cringe, which might be the definition of Adult Swim.
Yeah,
so.
I was just gonna say that's what this is all about, dude.
I mean, that if you want to talk about Adult Swim, it hits really, really hard sometimes. You're like, oh my god, why are they doing this? And it's awkward. It's just so awkward sometimes. And that was a Space Ghost Coast to Coast in a nutshell for me.
Well, if you want to go back and watch some great episodes of Space Ghost, I recommend Pile Driver, which is the guest star of Pile Driver is Macho Man Randy Savage, who plays Space Ghost's grandfather, and it is fucking hilarious. The entire episode, Macho Man interviews Raven Simone and asking her if she's ever like pile drive one of her fellow students, and he ends up taking chair shots from Zorak and talking about how he beat Moltar's dad in a steel cage death match. It's so great. It's an awesome episode. Shambrain is another one. Space Ghost interviews Bob Costas and Al Roker, but the whole thing is essentially about this infomercial for this shampoo Shambrain that hoodwinked Space Ghost that's made by aliens that's complete placebo, but the Space Ghost thinks it's making him smarter. Those are definitely a couple of my favorite episodes, but it's important to note that Aqua Teen Hunger Force made its debut in Space Ghost. So that's where Aqua Teen had its start, was on Space Ghost Coast to Coast. So again, very much so the progenitor. Right. Yeah.
Oh, so, very different Frylock. Yeah, I remember that episode.
Yeah. But I mean, it is so very much this sort of father of Adult Swim type figure. And again, just a very big influence on my broadcasting career, as odd as that may sound, but it's true. And it's a big influence for me here at the Best Damn Nerd Show. And I do want to shout out friend of the show, Ilsa, who made these beautiful paintings of Space Ghost, Zorak, and Moltar that eventually I will have hanging in my podcast HQ here and will be featured in a place of honor befitting of Space Ghost coast to coast. But let's take a quick break. As Space Ghost would say, I think I better go wash my hair again. On the other side, we're going to talk about some of our favorites from Adult Swim on the Best Damn Nerd Show.
Hey everyone, Chris Eglia here, CEO of the Tenno Media Network. I would like to say thank you for checking out one of our podcasts, but we need your help. You can support Tenno in a multitude of ways. By going to our website and checking out our latest podcasts, by buying some sweet merch, joining our Discord, or getting early and exclusive access to all content via our Patreon. Your support means the world to us, and you can find everything on our website, www.10-o.gg. That's ten-o.gg. Thank you again, and now, back to the show.
It's me, Iron Nerd Min-Maxer, Hanzo Gonzo, inviting you into the Tenno Media Arena to see whose nerdiness will reign we're gonna get sued if you will triumph a lotly. Come check out all the battles on the Tenno Media Network Patreon, or you can just skip to the parts where Steve physically breaks something for no reason. See you there.
It's the microphone alchemist Bimbo Jimbo here, of course, formerly the Jedi Master, and we are so happy to be back delivering to you the nerdy content that you need to make it through your Muggle work week. And we want to hear from you, Nerdosphere, so be sure to subscribe, rate, and review us on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Zunes, or other non-name brand MP3 playing devices everywhere, or however you consume your weekly interval. Whether you agree with me that The Last Jedi was a crime against Star Wars, or that you think that my hosting warrants being mauled by a bear, leave us a 5-star review, make us laugh, smile, or cry in that review, and there is a good chance that you will hear it read on a future episode of the Best Damn Nerd Show. So be sure to rate and review us. It's the best way that you can help the BDNS keep saying it loud and proud for years to come. Welcome back to the Best Damn Nerd Show. James Kincaid alongside Jeff Budd and Chris Davis, as we are getting now deeper into Adult Swim. We're at the deep end of the pool here because we're going to talk about some of our favorite shows that featured on Adult Swim. And I think we should just get it out of the way now, the one that I know the three of us love equally, and that's Frisky Dingo. Probably my favorite Adult Swim show ever, even more so than Space Ghost. It's just, it's one of the funniest shows I've ever seen, and I'm eternally grateful to the Imperial Commissar, Jeff Budd, for showing me Frisky Dingo. And in preparation for this very podcast, I have to shout out HBO Max as the greatest streaming service because it has Frisky Dingo streaming on there. So,
because they have all the Adult Swim shows, don't they?
Yeah, they have Aqua Teen on there. They have C Lab. I watched the entire Dingo show in getting ready for this. I just had it on while I was working, and it holds up. It's hilarious. Frisky Dingo, Jeff. How did you? I mean, you're just take it from there. Your love for Frisky Dingo.
I discovered it sometime during when season 1 was airing. The first episode I ever saw was actually when Xander and Killface were wandering through the sewer. So I saw them both with glasses, and I saw Xander with the blonde wig, and they were both naked and wandering around. And I knew nothing about the show because the Frisky Dingo commercials never told you anything. You know,
yeah.
They would just be like, this week on Frisky Dingo, it'd be something completely off the wall.
Yeah.
And so that was the first episode I saw, and had no idea what was going on. The next episode I saw was the second episode ever, which introduces Xander Cruz / Awesome X, the superhero on the show. I did not realize that was the same character as the guy in the blonde wig. I thought those were two different characters.
Well,
And I
why
was like,
would ya?
oh fuck, there's a superhero on the show. I was like, does he fight those guys? Or those guys good guys too? Like, what is going on? And I loved both episodes, but I really loved, of course, the second one because I'm catching it at the beginning and it's telling me a story and I'm being introduced to the world. And I mean, yeah, if for people who aren't familiar with Frisky Dingo, it basically follows a supervillain and a superhero and like their personal lives and how they kind of come face to face with each other and just the confrontations there. And it's not your straight up like, you know, comic book adventure or anything like that. It's very
No,
off
it's
the
not.
wall and just goofy and fun. But God, and the Xander Cruz, the billionaire superhero, he's kind of like Bruce Wayne's public persona, if that's just what he was like. And
Yeah,
so
actually,
he's just,
like, yeah.
yeah, he's just an awful person who just also happens to be a superhero, so he can escape the responsibilities of being a billionaire. And then the supervillain is great because I love Killface. Just because he's a single dad, and
Yeah.
you know, he's just and nothing's ever working out for him. He's just trying to get things.
The fact of
It
the
just-
matter is, that's our last ball.
Dragged
never go
out
back
to
to
the
Arizona.
desert for stuff and nonsense.
But I mean, it's the kind of show that I gravitated towards instantly and became a huge fan of. And then whenever I had the chance, I would introduce other people to the show. I had both seasons on DVD when they came
Yes.
out. I used to have Frisky Dingo watch parties at my apartment where a bunch of people would come over and we would all just sit and watch Frisky Dingo. And the episodes are only 11 minutes long, so you can just blow through them.
We
And,
only have 9 minutes for this.
for this part of the kidnapping. Ant farm keyboard, and there's so many parts where it's so easy to just quote. And I mean, the show is like almost nothing but a collection of memes itself because the jokes are completely off the wall.
Yeah.
And it's the same makers of C-Lab 2021 and Archer, which I
Yep.
think most people would probably be familiar with. And I remember this girl. I first started dating her, and I went to her place, and all we did like all night. The first time I ever like stayed over was we just stayed up and watched different clips on AdultSwim.com of Frisky Dingo, but it was in no order. It would just hop around constantly, and so she was learning different parts of the story at random times. But it doesn't matter because the story is almost inconsequential to just the jokes that they're hitting you with.
The story is inconsequential, but I will say what this show does do, probably more so than any show I can recall, is the callback. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's heavy.
It's heavy on the callback. So if you miss some episodes and like if you don't see a couple, you're going to be lost on a couple jokes. So you do need to watch this sequentially, and because it's just funnier that way.
Well, because it also is just one story, you know,
Yeah.
what I mean? Like it's continuous. Every episode just basically leads off or you know takes off where the last one ended, which is amazing.
Well, one of my favorite aspects about the show is the previously on and the next time on that they will show you things in a different way than they just appeared before you, or maybe the best one ever, which is when Grace Ryan is hanging suspended from from the Annihilatrix over the radioactive ants, and it's like
Oh
a
my god, I hope
cliffhanger.
she
It's
falls.
a cliffhanger ending, and it just goes to next time on Frisky Dingo, and it's just Killface going, "Oh my god, she fell."
That was
completely taking the cliffhanger like out of it. It was so well done. It was just like a master stroke. But yeah, I mean the quotes, you know, throughout this entire run of the Best Damn Nerd Show and our friendships, it's just like if you've seen Frisky Dingo, it becomes its whole own language, essentially.
Yeah. Well, for years, Cat Party was my ringtone, and then even when it was no longer my ringtone, it was still my James Kincaid ringtone. So James called me. Still had Cat Party.
Dog Party now.
Frisky Dingo got something for everybody.
Yeah, that's what's great about Frisky Dingo is it is like Chinatown.
I mean, I would love to go see Tequil in concert or hear all that jizz on the radio. There are certain things in that show that I'm stunned were on TV, even for Adult Swim. But
changed for a 38.
call you Hearse.
This one's for Cody.
There are so many great moments on Frisky Dingo, and I think we will have to do a whole episode about it. But I do want to circle back to the DVDs for a minute, because I need to get my hands on those. Because did it not come with the "You Are Doom" postcard?
The dry hump of marketing strategies.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's only like 10,000 people.
The first season DVD does come with you are in quotation marks the Doom.
Yeah.
The postcard that Killface's team was sending out to people to let them know that the world was in danger. It was going
media
to be
buys
shot into the sun. I want this playing on all things.
Well, do you have like $40 billion? Yes, Trent. As a matter of fact, I do.
Drink it in.
The dress just cost $4.
USC Film School. Maybe you've heard of it.
So good. Do you have any favorite, I guess, characters? I mean, well, maybe should we save it for its own episode and we move on?
Probably.
Yeah. Let's not do too much of a deep dive.
All right. Well,
we
do yourselves
recommend
a
to
favor.
people, go on HBO Max. Watch as much Frisky Dingo as you can and prepare yourself, because I say let's do that Frisky Dingo episode sooner rather than later.
I agree.
This has kind of reignited something in me. I haven't watched it in a little while, so
my ass is ready to be rocked. So,
I will say that. You know what? I won't say anything else. Actually, I was going to say something, and now I'm holding back.
Cliffhanger. All right. Well,
next time on the BDNS, I wanted to talk about the election in season 2.
I'm glad you did it. Excellent. All right, you guys picked a show that you want to talk about that speaks to you. Jeff, we'll start with you.
One of the shows that kind of got me into Adult Swim was not originally an Adult Swim show. It was from UPN, and that's Home Movies with Brendan Small. And I remember, and this is something that Adult Swim was really good at, was capturing shows that had kind of been canceled before their time was really there. They were canceled in their prime, and sort of reignite the fan base. They did it with Home Movies. They did it with Family Guy. I mean, people forget Family Guy was dead for years, and Adult Swim is what brought it back to life. And then Fox jumped right back on it and made lots of money off of it.
Yes.
And then they did the same thing with Futurama, and then Comedy Central started that show back up. But with Home Movies, I used to love the commercials for it, where it's like, "You okay, Coach?" And it's like, "I don't know, Brendan. I just drank pee. How do you feel?" But Home Movies was great. It was Brendan Small creation, the guy who would later on do Metalocalypse on Adult Swim, which is another phenomenal show. And it was basically about this kid who likes to make movies with his friends, and then also the soccer coach, because they played on a soccer team. And Coach McGurk was my favorite character, played by H. John Benjamin, Sterling Archer.
Yes.
Just phenomenal voice, phenomenal deadpan delivery, just hilarious show. The movies that the kids would make were hysterical, and just their interactions with the characters, because the kids were written like adults, like how they all speak with each other. My favorite episode, I think, is Fenton's birthday party, because it's just almost like a regular TV show, like sitcom episode or something like that, as far as just how all the different characters were interacting with each other. It's just like this party that they're all at. If you haven't watched Home Movies in a while, I highly recommend that episode specifically, but you really can't miss with that show. I think the episodes that are not squiggle vision, where it's all just straight lines, those are the ones that Adult Swim produced, like once they ordered new episodes again.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah, H. John Benjamin, like you said, his voice so iconic now, and
I knew him from Dr. Katz, And
I remember him in Not Another Teen Movie.
Oh shit! See, I don't remember that.
He's like the assistant coach. So I'm not even sure if he can. Not even sure if he can walk or breathe. And he gets into the spitting contest with the other football coach. Davis, you pick a show.
I mean, probably the one that started me the most heavily on Aqua Teen was Aqua Teen Hunger Force, or on Adult Swim was Aqua Teen Hunger Force. I was just so excited to get it out. Meatwad, Frylock, and Master Shake were just some of the most odd characters to ever come across my TV screen. And then you have Carl, who I probably resonate with the most. So
Carl's the everyman on that show.
Tonight.
Jersey trash.
And it's just so weird. It's just so out there and random and just hilarious. Just the funny lines that come from that show. It again, it's just meme after meme, quote after quote. It's constant. And I think the first episode I ever watched was Hand Banana.
Tonight, you.
and that's
Explain
all it was.
to the audience what Hand Banana is about, Davis.
Hand Banana is a dog, if you can call it that. I don't remember how. I think it was generated by toxicity in a swimming pool they tried to make in their backyard, I believe. But it was a dog that was a perfectly nice little critter to our main characters, but to Carl, it wanted to rape him, and it was gonna. And every time
Tonight,
it saw him, it just said, "Tonight, you." It's like, what do you mean tonight, you little guy? You're what are you gonna do? And I think he got raped like 3 times, if I remember right.
He was raped repeatedly.
So that's how I was introduced to that show, because the dog.
Davis immediately was like, "Oh, this show's great.
This is right up my alley." I think.
What do you mean that character's not a regular?
I might have seen episodes before. But that's the one that definitely turned me into it, for sure.
I had 2 episodes singled out that I wanted to make sure that we talked about. One was Hand Banana. The other one was Happy Time Harry's episode. What was the name of that one? I think it was like Dumber Dolls, Dumber Dolls was the name of it. But
Commence the jiggling.
Yeah, Commence the Jiggling, and just it's about this essentially these living. It's like Toy Story on Aqua Teen Hunger Force, where there's this. What was the? I forget his name, but essentially one of the
doll that they had to buy.
Yeah, he comes with action bills. Yeah, action bills that he has to pay. His whole life is just very depressing compared to this prospector action figure who says "Commence the jiggling."
Hey, meanwhile, where's your doll? He's got to sleep right now because he's got like an overnight job, and then you hear the doll in the other room. Shut up.
Yeah, Jiggle Billy is the name of the prospector. And then Happy Time Harry, who is anything but happy, talking to Jiggle Billy about like, why do you come with night vision goggles? It's like essentially talking this happy-go-lucky doll into an existential crisis. You're like, I don't know why I have these night vision. Yeah. It was great. It was that was one of the first episodes that I saw, and I was like, "Yeah, this show's great." So
made that Highlander reference in it actually.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And then when he corrected Shake's like, "Oh, let's see what your ass knows about flying," and just threw him off the cliff.
That's still one of my favorites.
Anything with the Mooninites, I absolutely.
I'm so glad you brought up the Mooninites.
Adore just how they talk. Just gets me every time. I couldn't even come up with a quote right now, but they were just some of the characters that really always just stood out to me on that show.
I was going to say the first time they were defeated by the Aqua Teen Hunger Force and they were going back in space, and the bigger one was giving the finger, and the finger is just getting longer and longer. He's like, "I am doing this as hard as I can. I hope they can see it." And also, I think it was like probably season 1 or maybe season 2 where the Mooninites got like every enemy of Aqua Teen together at the time, and they were all conspiring on how they could defeat them.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great one, just seeing all of them interacting with one another. And it was even like the giant bug that H. John Benjamin had played, who really just wanted that light that they had in their house. Right. And so he wasn't even a villain or an enemy of theirs. And then they go to their house, and all the Frylock did was turn off the lights and pretend they weren't home. And then Carl just comes over and goes, "Oh yeah, they moved away." And then the Mooninites are like, "Oh damn." It's like, "Well, did they give a forwarding address?" "No, I don't think so." And then I forget who one of the other villains is like, "No, they're right there. I see them peeking out the window." And it's like, "Yeah, you got to go now."
You got to go now.
So I'm glad you brought up the Mooninites as well, because in 2007, and I had to look this up because it's been so long since I've thought about it. I couldn't remember if it was graffiti, but no, it was LED.
Stickers, right?
like LED displays of the Mooninites and stickers were put up for Boston and other cities throughout the United States, and it caused a fucking panic about what these were and what they what they represented, and perhaps the generational gap in America has never been more widely on display because we're like, oh, it's the Mooninites. I had completely forgotten about that though until getting ready for this episode.
They talked about that on the last panel of Aqua Teen where they were linked to terrorism, and they said the only other time that you saw Aqua Teen like on other shows was it would be on Law and Order. Every time the teenager was troubled, that would be the show on TV, like in his bedroom. So they were associated with terrorism and troubled teens, basically.
I'm glad we brought them up. And again, Carl is, I think he's my favorite character on the show.
Remember when he used to do football picks on like Scott Van Pelt's radio?
Oh yeah,
yes, that's
that was
right.
Great.
Yeah, that's right.
I used to look forward to that on Fridays.
There's a guy in our fantasy football league that does a mock Carl before every week and does like picks in the league, and he does his like best Carl impression, and it is fantastic.
That's
so
awesome.
It still lives on.
Get him
I'm so happy to hear that. That's great. All right, another show I want to throw out here. We've danced around it. C-Lab 2021. One of my all-time favorite shows as well, and building off of that sort of Space Ghost idea of reusing footage and just repurposing it to your own ends, and in C-Lab's case, wildly twisting the characters and the storyline. But Captain Murphy, that's my C-Lab. It was so sad when the voice actor passed away, during its run, and it really did take the wind out of my sails in terms of C-Lab, because I had such an affinity for the Captain Murphy character. He's my favorite part of the whole show. His whole quotes, mustache on or off, too bad. Well, just he's the best to me.
Off, please.
Too bad. And so, but I mean, C-Lab 2021, one of the great shows of Adult Swim, in my opinion. What did you guys think of C-Lab, Jeffy?
Huge fan of C-Lab, and it was one of those shows where there were a lot of great characters, because I remember transitioning to different characters being my favorite, and kind of like you, once Murphy passed, nothing against the rest of the show, and it was still funny, but it wasn't the same. Yeah, so I mean, I wasn't as big a fan, I wasn't as enthusiastic about it anymore. If I can only mention one episode, it has to be when Murphy was playing golf, and then the Bebop Cola, and gets stuck under the machine, and the Scorpion, and the Jerks at Pod 6, all of that. Like, I feel like that started so many other jokes that they would continue to do, and I fucking love him getting addicted to the Scorpion venom. Hey, where do you think you're going? Daddy,
what was the name of the Scorpion, too?
I don't remember anymore, but I did like that they had become friends. And then,
and
then the cleaning robot killed him.
Oh my god! Yeah, and then he hulks out. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
And the Scorpion eggs had ash inside of him.
So good, Davis. How about you on C-Lab?
Well, Murphy was easily the best character. If you had a different favorite character than Murphy, I need to question everything.
What about regular Stormy?
That's fine. You better.
I know stuff. Interrogate me.
But I just like how they just blew up the station like every other episode, it seemed like, and nothing, and it just go back to normal.
No consequences.
no, it didn't matter. Every episode was its own thing, and you could just jump in at any time, and that you need shows like that. And C-Lab 2021 was just hilarious all the way around.
I got to say, a lot of people do like Sparks in terms of favorite
Sparks
characters.
Was my original favorite character.
Yeah, so a lot of people love him.
Because his jokes are always like so off the wall with just like the weird, sinister shit he was doing.
A modest proposal. Yeah, like Stimutax episode. But if I gotta mention one episode, I think that the Cool's House heroes know exactly which episode I'm going to mention. And I watched a lot of C-Lab at the Cool's House, and that is the Bizarros. That to me is peak C-Lab in my opinion. It's my favorite episode from the whole run, and it's full of so many great moments and quotes, and it plays off the whole comic book idea of having a whole Bizarro universe and everything.
Has that X-Men cover.
Yes, exactly. And just the
I don't know, man. I hated all those characters except Turtleface.
I hate them all except for Turtleface. No,
Bizarro, I love you. Bizarro.
I'm too freaked out. Don't you mean Bizarro'd out? And just that Dr. Quinn was banging Bizarro Debbie. It was so good. That bastard. So good. That to me is my favorite C-Lab 2021 episode. And I actually haven't looked to see if that's on HBO Max as well. But if it is, I'm going to give that a rewatch. And I think that's another episode we should do. But anybody else want to throw out another show? Jeff, it's your turn in the rotation for what we haven't brought up yet.
Oh boy. You know what? Let's switch to live action for a second, and a show that's near and dear to my heart and Davis's heart. Because one of the things about Adult Swim is they also had like a million great live action shows. It wasn't just cartoons. Once Adult Swim sort of became its own brand, it wasn't as beholden to the Cartoon Network theme as it was originally, and that's the Eric Andre show. I never gave it a chance before I saw them at Comic-Con. They won us over tremendously in that panel.
Didn't take long.
That panel played out exactly like an episode of the Eric Andre show.
It might have been an episode. Like they were just filming it for a future release. Like that's how they played it.
I wish that was recorded, honestly, because it was such a just funny. Eric brought that same weird, uncomfortable energy with him that he has on the talk show. It's a talk show, but they just do a bunch of like real nonsensical weird. It almost is like a live action cartoon with just all the stupid shit that they do.
It's kind of like a live action Space Ghost in a certain sense. It's just not.
It kind of is, and I heard this great theory from somebody, I think it was on Reddit like a few years back, where Eric Andre is actually dead and he's in hell and he's forced to host this talk show, and that's why he looks so miserable. And what's his name? Hannibal Buress is the demon in charge of his suffering, which is why he's always the one commanding him to do his like opening monologue and everything. It's like, get your ass up there and do your monologue. And then he's trying to destroy the set every time, and then he sits down and it just rebuilds itself, and he has to go through it all over and over again. That's not Eric Andre canon, but it is in my head canon. Though. Yeah.
That's pretty good. I mean, just for the memes alone that have come out of the Eric Andre show, it's a testament to how funny the show is and the staying power of it.
So many great guests.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why, again, it does feel like a live action Space Ghost in that sense. And it is pro wrestling in the sense that I don't know how
Chris
much
Jericho's on it.
Well, yeah. But I don't know how much that they know. Like, how much of it are they actually are the guests getting got by the whole Eric Andre
I think it's a mixed bag, because they definitely, I mean...
That's the magic of it,
After a while, you kind of have to sort of be in on it, but there are certain things where they can't be. And then certain interviews are so short that it's like, I feel like they either walked out or something happened where there was no way they could air it. So... I think
Jericho's
that's also why they have
was
to
very
intersperse
short.
so many. Wait, which one?
Jericho's was very short.
Because Jericho doesn't have a good sense of humor about himself. That's the problem with Chris Jericho. I mean, listen, I like Chris Jericho. I'm a fan of him as a wrestler. I'm just thinking of like his conversations on Opie and Anthony with Norton and everything. The guy does not laugh at himself. So Eric Andre doing anything at his expense, yeah, I'm not surprised. I tell you who was great on the Eric Andre show, and it just shows how fucking awesome he is, and that's Dolph Lundgren. He just laughed off everything. He stayed the entire time. He just got a kick out of it.
He's happy to be
working.
Like,
yeah, dude. Just Dolph Lundgren's just fucking cool, man.
The most recent clip I've seen from the show, because I haven't stayed up on it, is just him in a gorilla cage, and he like fell in or something like that, and the trainer's just like telling him not to move. And it's just a guy in a gorilla suit that just comes up behind him and just takes him. And it's just all and it's a real looking gorilla suit. It's not crazy off the mark. I mean, it does look like a gorilla, but it just looks like it's having its way with him. And all the people watching are just horrified and screaming. It's just out of this world.
I recommend that people look up Lance Reddick on the Eric Andre show. Who plays the concierge at
Yes.
whatever the hotel is in the John Wick films.
Oh yeah.
He's terrific, and he's
That
one of the
appearance
few
is
people that got one
insane.
over on Eric Andre.
That appearance is absolutely insane.
It is insane, and I can't believe he agreed to do it. But either way, it's hilarious. And then the other things that I always liked is I like the character he plays on the street when he's just fucking with like people on their lunch
Yeah.
break, where
Yeah.
he's like, "Hey man, you want to play some frisbee? What's up? You gained your freshman 50?" And he's like, I gotta like, he's doing like invisible typing in the air, and he does all the. He's like, "You want to hit this ranch?" And then just like the different like clips that. And also, oh fuck, what is it? Somebody ordered a pizza ball, and it's just a ball of pizza that he takes to that karate class.
Dude,
And he refuses to leave till somebody pays him. That guy's like throwing him out of the.
I gotta circle back to the memes too, because the like "let me in" memes with him outside the gate are amazing, and also the one with Hannibal Buress. You know, why would insert who do this is just.
Oh yeah, we've used a few of those. Those are great.
Absolutely. All right, Davis, pick a show that we have not yet discussed from Adult Swim.
Oh gosh.
Don't be afraid for it to be obvious. Your intro was a good one to go off on.
Yeah, no, I mean the Venture Brothers I think have to be brought up because just the quality of writing in that show, the references to pop culture are just
callbacks.
And callbacks they're nonstop, and the characters are really good. I mean, if you want like a quality good cartoon that is going to be consistent and have like an ongoing story, Venture Brothers is top of the mark on.
Not consistent with its premieres or
No.
production status,
No.
which is why it got canceled. Let's talk about that. The show was on for like 30 years. They had 8 seasons.
Yeah, they had some issues. But I mean, the show itself is just so beloved by. I think it's one of the few shows on Adult Swim that I think would draw more people in, like than say like Aqua Teen. Aqua Teen, it's hard to bring some people in just on the fact of the characters look alone.
Well, yeah, and depending on which episode you start with, for sure.
But you know, Brock Samson is one of the best characters of all time. So I love Brock. He's just so good. The show in general is just neat. It's probably a top 3 on Adult Swim for me.
Nice. Jeff, anything you want to add to Venture Bros?
Yeah, that show has like some of the richest lore. Like we were talking, I mean, that is a very cohesive world. I love all the references to either like pulp heroes or old school comic books. The fact that their grandfather was like essentially Doc Savage. Dr. Venture, I think, ended up becoming my favorite character on the show, but that was another one where I sort of hopped around a little bit. And it's weird because it's also a show where there's progression and the characters develop and there's a change to the story. And it's just weird to me to see like how capable, Hank Venture became, when what the little Hardy Boy ripoffs were like in the beginning of the series. I'm trying to think what else I really loved about. I mean, yeah, Brock Samson, of course. I was thinking about this show a couple days ago because I knew we would talk about it on this episode. I was never really a big Sergeant Hatred fan. And so once Brock was no longer the bodyguard of the Ventures, I was not as invested in the show. And I'm trying to think what else I want to say. One of my favorite episodes, if we're just going to talk about like a few clips, is I liked when Dr. Venture had the garage the garage sale, and he was just selling all these like amazing weapons that he had built and designed for the government. And I forget what the henchman's numbers were for the Monarch back then, but it was the lightsaber. It's like, yeah, I made it for the army, and then the general goes, "Oh, we don't sword fight anymore." It's like, I'll buy it, and I don't need a bag. I'm going to wear it home, and then he tries to use the lightsaber against Brock, but it doesn't actually cut through anything. It's almost just like a glorified flashlight.
I'll tell you what, and I texted it to you guys before, and that's are these they? stands out through all these years. There have been so many times in
Who
my
talks like that?
but there's so many conversations throughout my career and everything where it's not necessarily that sentence, but people schooling one another in grammar instantly in my head. Every time are these they pops into my head. So definitely stands out there. All right, I want to throw out another show, and let's go down the anime track. And while not created by Cartoon Network and Adult Swim,
a big part of Adult Swim,
yeah, it is a huge part of it, and maybe the biggest. And this will have its own episode coming soon, I hope, Jeff. And that's Cowboy Bebop. Big part of what was going on there. And Jeff, I know you were watching. So for me, my introduction to Cowboy Bebop, and there will be some redundancy when we talk about it. The first episode I saw of Cowboy Bebop is still my favorite episode of Cowboy Bebop. Me too. And it hooks you, man. And I love film noir. So Cowboy Bebop and its noir themes and its sort of heavy jazz influence is a sort of natural fit for an old soul like yours truly. But Ganymede Elegy.
Hey man, you were listening to blues when you're still in the womb.
hey man, I
and then the Mark Truex bounty hunter. I was still listening to blues when I was in my daddy's sack.
But Ganymede Elegy about Jet going back to find his old flame and everything going on with that, just showing his backstory. That was my introduction to the show. And so I had sort of a very different perspective. I was like, well, this guy's got to be the main character, not knowing what I was getting into. But what a fantastically rich ensemble that Cowboy Bebop provided, and a terrific gateway into anime, I think, for so many people. And it's very accessible, I feel like, for the American audience to sort of buy into it. It's a low sort of clearance bar to get into it, because everything is it's very sort of westernized in terms of a lot of the things that they're dealing with. But Jeff, if you want to speak on Cowboy Bebop, feel free.
Yeah, it's one of those space westerns that was really good with anime. I think it has a lot of tropes that just really, are easily identifiable with Western audiences, and that's why it clicks so well. And then 26 episodes. It doesn't take long to get invested, and you can watch the entire series and really appreciate it. You got the 26 episodes in the movie. So first episode I ever saw was episode 5, Ballad of Fallen Angels. I was in high school, I remember. I think I was a senior when I first saw that on Adult Swim. Instantly blown away. Introduction of Vicious. You get a little bit of Spike's background. You get Faye Valentine at maybe her hottest, or one of her hottest moments. The entire last scene with the music intro and him coming into, not even so much save her, because he said he wasn't just doing it to save her, he was doing it to go after Vicious, but that one guy who was working for Vicious thinking he was in control of the situation, and Spike just blows his head away, which was great, and then just annihilating the entire team, and the fight with Vicious was terrific, and the two of them then, or he pushed Spike out the window, and then the grenade was left behind. I loved all of that. And then Jet, who was got into the fight with Spike, he comes back to save him. All of that was terrific. Also,
what a great tone setter for you to get for that.
It's an amazing episode, because you really get a lot with the relationships between the characters there. Also, very little Ed in that episode, which I'm a big fan of. I am not an Ed fan. So
yeah,
even though she was a part of the team, she didn't take away from it. I think she just said like a couple of things that she had like found surfing online, so that was fine for me.
Yeah, I think you and I at least will be doing a Bebop centric episode, I believe, in the future. And yeah, Ed's not my favorite of the crew, but
I don't hate her.
No,
but, I mean, she's definitely different than the rest of the team.
She offers the least in terms of attachment. She's the least sort of, I think, that you can glom onto and really sort of get that attachment vibes to it. But it's so perfect that you got that episode as your first. And, Ganymede Elegy for me is just, it's the most fucking James Kincaid episode that I could have possibly seen. Like the fact that was the one that I saw. He's going to see this ex-lover of his. He's got the pocket watch. He's very sentimental, and eventually has to walk away from her, but leaves with some sort of honor code and dignity about himself. It just the nostalgia, the music, everything. I was like, dude, this episode is speaking to me. So it's so perfect that happened like that. Yeah, love Cowboy Bebop, and it was, like we said, the anime aspect of Adult Swim's a big part of it, and I think look no further than Cowboy Bebop. But
And
Jeff,
then actually, I was going to say that was also the first night I watched a few episodes of different things in a row, and it was the first episode of Yu Yu Hakusho I ever saw, which is a show that we sometimes marathon on the Discord together. It was also an episode that introduced me to my favorite character on that series, Kurama, and it was the episode where Yusuke kind of gets to know Kurama, and you get like his backstory as far as what he was all about. So I was just like watching these quality shows, one right after the other. I was like, why do I not watch Adult Swim more often? Because this stuff is amazing.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Throw out another show, if you will.
Oh shit, I have to think about it.
You haven't really talked a lot about Harvey Birdman. If you want to sort of expand on your thoughts about that, because I know it's a favorite.
Okay, then there's two that I kind of want to talk about. Harvey Birdman I'll talk about because for a while that was my favorite show on Adult Swim when I was first starting to really get into it. I like the idea of just all the callbacks and references to Hanna-Barbera shows that they were making.
Absolutely.
And that they turned Harvey Birdman into this attorney. I love the Flintstone Sopranos episode that we were talking about. I love the Dr. Quest, Race Bannon, like sort of divorce. They were hinting that they were a couple and then fighting over custody for Johnny and Haji. And so all of it's like and then the people that they were swearing in, it was like give your name, like your organization and your like profession, and it's like Lizard Man, Lizard Man, Lizard Man. That was great. And then I was a huge fan of not the one judge, but Memnock the Mind Taker or whatever. Or Mentok the Mind Taker. I was a huge fan of his because he was always reading everybody's minds. And he's like, mind taking. And then predicting the bailiff having like a scratchy throat. He's like, you got a little itch, little. It's like no. And then later, the like little mini Harvey Birdman, the one with the metal wings or whatever, was trying to perform a hit on him for the Flintstone Sopranos. So he was choking him. He's like, ow, that hurts my throat. Got it. Yeah. And then the fact that kind of like with Space Ghost, he had all of his arch nemesis working for his show. Harvey Birdman was going against all his arch nemesis as like the other attorney, basically. I forget if he was always the defendant or not, or the defense attorney, and they were prosecutors. But yeah, it was always funny seeing him go against them. And then oh shit, what was his name?
Birdman appeared on Space Ghost too.
Yeah. Was it X the Eliminator? And then
that sounds right.
They played the one episode of like him when he actually was hired by some organization to defeat Harvey Birdman, and then you see that he like never recovered from that. He was like still living with his mom, and he was like overweight, and he was just like pathetic. Like, and then he started becoming like a reoccurring character. He was great. The other person on that show I was a huge fan of was Stephen Colbert's character, who was like Harvey's boss. He was the senior partner at the law firm. And he was the guy with the eye patch, who I think on the original Harvey Birdman show was sort of like his government contact, who would kind of direct him towards like missions and things like that. I had his fucking action figure. I was such a big fan of it, and it was him with like his glass of scotch, and that was basically. And I just used to have that on my desk in college for years.
Yeah, I remember that.
They would make those Adult Swim action figures, and they stopped making them right before Frisky Dingo came out. What a bummer! They could have made awesome X dolls. Now we're doing this. I kind of converted all the Adult Swim factories into making these things.
I think it's important to note too. Again, just going back to that coast to coast thread, is that Birdman hosted the Space Ghost show on a couple occasions. He was fired both times, and that's actually where his first name was revealed to be Harvey. And that spun off into Harvey Birdman, attorney at law. So
I love the shared universe.
It's great.
And I like all the use of the Hanna-Barbera cartoons. I think it's all really funny.
I love that aspect too, because there's just something about that appeal of like this whole sort of world that they created within it. It's really, really awesome. And there are also some cartoons that are important, but at that time period, it's sort of been pushed to the side a little bit, so it was cool to revisit those. Davis, got anything on Birdman or another show that you want to throw out and highlight?
Nothing on Birdman, but a newer show I want to make sure we highlight is Mike Tyson Mysteries.
Hell yeah.
So another show that was introduced to us at Comic-Con in the Indigo Ballroom, and we had no idea what to expect, and
yet it was exactly what you would expect.
exactly what you would expect. And Mike Tyson did not show up. It was pretty much everybody on the cast except for Mike Tyson, and I think there's a good reason for that, because Mike Tyson Mysteries is pretty much like Scooby Doo. They're trying to solve mysteries. It's Mike Tyson, his long lost daughter, adopted daughter,
His adopted daughter.
a drunk pigeon who's Norm Macdonald.
Yeah.
It was great.
And they just try to solve mysteries, but
the ghost of the guy who invented boxing.
Yeah. And what they do is they start trying to solve a mystery, and I'm pretty sure what happens, and this is what they said in the panel, is that they just kind of let Mike Tyson go and ramble, and that's kind of where the show goes, and they just work off of it. And that makes a lot of sense if you watch it, because a lot of the mysteries don't get solved. There's no resolution. And you just get Mike Tyson kind of just blabbering on, and they're just responding to it, and it's absolutely hilarious.
It's gold. All right, it works.
Gold, Jerry. Gold. All right, there's one more show I want to talk about before we go to break and wrap things up. And again, there
Rick and Morty.
There are tons of shows to get to, and it is, yes, Rick and Morty, which
I was going to say shit. Otherwise, we'll get shit for that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But Rick and Morty, in terms of sort of the more recent shows on Adult Swim and where it is in this generation, this iteration, once again shared with me by Jeff Budd. And I got to tell you, that first episode you showed me was rough for me to watch, because he's belching so much. Rick is belching so much, and just not redeemable at all. And I was like, I don't know if this is really funny. But by the second episode, I was in, and going on from there, and the whole Pirates of the Pancreas and the Meeseeks.
Love that episode.
Yeah, that episode is my second favorite to the Meeseeks episode. I love Mr. Meeseeks. I just, thinking about Comic-Con again, and, the cosplayers that would show up as Meeseeks and some of the things that they would say, and just Rick and Morty started off on an absolute rocket ship, at least when I was introduced to it. And maybe sort of like Venture Bros, there was some maybe concern about when we would get more Rick and Morty. There were things in the dark about it at that time. I think it was kind of before it really became the sensation that it is now, a little bit. But I really did enjoy that early Rick and Morty stuff so very much. I think we all did. Love the Meeseeks. Jeff, I know it has not all been great at this point in time, in our opinion, at least. I know, Davis, I don't know how you feel about current Rick and Morty, but some of the fan base has gotten to be a little bit much, in my opinion. But Jeff, what are your thoughts on Rick and Morty?
Yeah, the fan base is the reason why I'm not a fan anymore. But that first season to me is like perfection. I don't think there's a weak episode in the bunch. I loved all of it. I remember going to the first panel after that, and it was before Rick and Morty had really blown up, and then they also didn't really have anything to show us because production was like so delayed and it wasn't a priority yet. It wasn't the juggernaut that Adult Swim would learn that Rick and Morty would become. And so like I think they had like some sketches and like a brief like animatics thing. Oh yeah, it was about it introduced me to like blips and chits. So I knew about that like over a year before that episode finally aired. It's like, hey, there's the episode. There it is. But the second season, I remember being super excited for it. I had my shirt that I printed. Mark Truex got one too at the Adult Swim Carnival over at Comic-Con. I was wearing it that night. I definitely enjoyed the second season as well, but I was starting to notice things. I was like, this didn't quite hit right for me, or that one didn't seem quite as good. I feel like Rick and Morty for me was like lightning in a bottle, and it just hasn't quite been the same thing since. And the end of the second season, I wasn't really feeling. Third season, I don't even know if I watched every episode for it, and I don't know where they're at now with Rick and Morty, but what the online community started becoming and how the show was, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm just going to remember Rick and Morty for what it was to me, and just be a fan of that stuff. And I think that's good enough. But at its best, I don't think there's much that really holds its own against Rick and Morty. That show was phenomenal.
Phenomenally hilarious at its peak. And I think, I guess I would blame the marketing in large part too, because I don't need to be, I just hated the commercial, the smartest show on television, and just hitting me over the head.
Was it ever actually marketed that way, or like sincerely marketed that way, or was that always more tongue-in-cheek type stuff? Like, I almost feel that, like, I'm not saying that they don't feel that might be the case.
There definitely has been a backlash against the show, like in meme culture, because, you know, I saw one just the other day about when it's like, yeah, tell me again, he was a pickle, and how it was the funniest thing you ever saw.
Well, yeah, I know. I know that meme's become more popular than any Pickle Rick meme. And yeah, that episode.
I actually didn't mind that episode.
Yeah, but it wasn't that great either.
Yeah.
It was okay. I think that's the problem with. I think that was season 3, right? Or maybe
yes.
Past that. It's like that's when I was starting to see episodes that were just all right, where Rick and Morty was killing it for me. I couldn't get enough of that show. I loved it. That was the other show that every chance I got, I was starting to show to other people because I wanted them to watch it too, so I could talk to them about it. And I thought it was a clever show, and I thought it was just hysterical. I really liked Rick Sanchez. I liked Morty. I liked Morty's family, you know?
Yeah.
And I liked his family with the roles they played season 1. They all started becoming a little too prominent, I felt, and then that was a problem. The show should be about Rick and Morty.
Yeah,
I don't need Summer to be on a bunch of adventures, and I don't need to see too much with Jerry or Beth. I mean, they're one-note wonders. Like that. Like that's their joke, basically, is like that one thing about them. Just keep it at that.
Yeah, Mr. Poopy Butthole. I did like. I think it was in season 3
Sorry
that it was.
You had no bad memories about them.
The Vindicators, and there's that janitor superhero. God damn! When Rick was just destroying them was so good. Davis, where do you come down on Rick and Morty?
I actually still really enjoy Rick and Morty. I will say not as much as when it first started. It's not as consistent as it was in season 1 and 2 for me. But not to harp on the fans or.
Look, and maybe we're just hipster assholes, but
yeah, and what it's grown to be, but and maybe we just have a bitter taste in our mouth because that's kind of been the crux of us not getting into the Indigo Ballroom anymore.
It's a combination of like Rick and Morty and Adventure Time, and yeah, it sucks.
So there's a little bit of a bitter taste in our mouth because we can't do our normal like Saturday routine anymore.
Friday routine, yeah, but I mean, Friday, we used to camp in that room.
Yeah, that was like an all day thing for us, and now it's we'd have to get there at 4 a.m. just to get in. But in general, man, I love Rick and Morty. It's probably my favorite show of all time on Adult Swim. It's that good. It's the characters. Rick and Morty are great. The side characters are phenomenal, and the less for like Jeff
ain't
said,
better than
less is
Digo,
more.
pal.
Yeah, we'll see on the Mount Rushmore there.
Okay. It's Fantastic Four, but whatever.
But yeah, no, there's the board games that have stemmed off of it that you have the card
the mobile
games,
game, Pocket Mortys or whatever it was called.
Pocket Mortys was a good game for a while. Yeah.
I mean, it's been a cultural show more so than any other Adult Swim show.
It is a phenomenon
by far. It has put Adult Swim on the map more than ever before, and Adult Swim was already pretty big, but I mean, not anything like it is now.
Yeah, I think it's the only Adult Swim original production that you can say that about, because I think the biggest show on Adult Swim was Family Guy.
Yeah. I mean, it's a huge deal. And look, I'm a season behind. I will watch it. I still enjoyed season 3. And again, maybe we're just hipster assholes about not getting into the ballroom, or about how the fan base. I'll stand by what we said about the fan base to a large degree.
I mean, the writers are on our side. They make commentary in the episodes in season 4 directly to that type of fan base about how they need to slow their roll a little bit. Like,
good.
About what they expect from the writers. Like, oh, you owe us
Ooh la la.
The ending of, Evil Morty. Bitch, I don't owe you shit. This is an Adult Swim show. We'll go on whatever tangent we want to, and we're gonna have a good time doing it. So back the fuck off.
I want to get
Being
it.
said, I would like Evil Morty closure. I would watch those episodes.
You son of a bitch.
Because that was one of my. I think that was my favorite episode from season 1.
I really like Evil Morty, and I am interested in that storyline and how it developed in terms of episodes. From I think it was season 3 where they were in that universe where Rick and Morty, like whatever universe they were detectives, and he's like, "Oh, geez," and actually he's not my Rick, he's my partner. Oh, jeez. It's like he's like a slightly evil Morty, I guess, or more of a hard-nosed one.
Yeah. He's
but
seen some shit.
Yeah, he's seen some serious shit. But my favorite episode's got to be the Mystiques or the Pirates of the Pancreas one for sure. But I will watch season 4. I'm heartened to learn. But I want to get a drop of David saying, "Well, you shit, bitch." So I gotta make that happen. All right, we're gonna take one more break. On the other side, we will do our version of the Mount Rushmore here at the Best Damn Nerd Show. Our Fantastic Four Adult Swim shows. We'll try and tie up some loose ends, anything that we left out, and more on the other side on the Best Damn Nerd Show. It's the microphone alchemist Bimbo Jimbo here, and when I'm not verbally super kicking Last Jedi fans on the Best Damn Nerd Show, or fantasy casting The Rock in another movie on the DLC, well, that's when I actually get to talk about wrestling. That's right. Come join me in the Wrestling War Room, where I take my mic to the mat and launch my hot takes about the Wednesday Night War between AEW and NXT. The Wrestling War Room. Which side are you on?
Hey nerd, Lore Master Tim here, and I've come with a rather indecent proposal. We want you to join in the conversation. If you aren't already a member of our Discord, what are you even doing? You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TheBDNS. And if you're crazy, odds are we'll talk about it on the show, so get kooky, and above all, let's get nerdy.
Hey guys, it's the loquacious anime and manga lover Jahns here. Now I have watched a lot of anime, and I've read an abundance of manga, so you would think that I have a pretty interesting opinion on the culture. From classics like Golden Boy and Ghost in the Shell, to masterpieces such as Psycho Pass and Gantz. Come and join me as I talk about the world of anime and manga, which has had a huge impact on my life. And who knows, whatever I talk about and recommend to you guys could become one of your favorite series.
Ammo with Jammers.
Welcome back to the Best Damn Nerd Show. James Kincaid alongside Jeff Budd and Chris Davis talking Adult Swim for one final segment as we are wrapping things up here. And, we threw a bunch of shows at you last segment and the sort of greatest hits, and we knew some things are going to be left out. We can't possibly dive into all of them. I'm still looking at my list here. We didn't really dive into Metalocalypse. We didn't dive in at all into Boondocks, which I know is a big show for a lot of people. And, I remember
First
watching
2 seasons anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's sort of what I remember the most about Boondocks. And then also Robot Chicken was another big one for a lot of people that we didn't really dive into. So thoughts on any of those: Boondocks, Robot Chicken, Metalocalypse that we didn't mention, and I'm sure there's some others that we're gonna get hate for not bringing up. But Davis, any thoughts on those 3 to start us off?
I mean, Robot Chicken has plenty of clips that are just gold, like just hilarious. I love their, like, when they do Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of what they do is not bad, but it does just kind of get old after a little while. It's it's some of the same clips, same characters that don't really change that much, and yeah, they're great for the first 4 seasons, but I think because it's been on so much and it was on for so long, I think it kind of hurt its own self. I think it kind of ran its course and just kept going.
Gotcha.
But there is plenty of good stuff that came from Robot Chicken that I adore. That's hilarious, and especially the Star Wars stuff, because they clearly love it so much and they did it justice.
Yeah.
that I really respected that show for that.
I think you said it in clips. There's some just gold sort of clips that you can mine from Robot Chicken, in particular the Star Wars stuff. And the one that pops to mind is Lando talking to Boba Fett, being like, "Yeah, it's a nice ship. Not crazy about the name though."
Yeah. Well, and it's the other great Lando one was they're on Cloud City and it's Darth Vader and pray I don't alter the deal more, and it just gets more ridiculous and more ridiculous of like how he's altered the deal, and it's so funny.
Yes, absolutely. Jeff, your thoughts on any of those shows? Boondocks, Robot Chicken, Metalocalypse, or anything else that maybe we missed?
Metalocalypse, I was a big fan. I think there's still episodes I need to see, though. That was another one that kind of had like interesting lore, and I wish I could go back and watch more of those. Boondocks, I definitely loved it. And when it comes to Robot Chicken, I regret that we didn't get a chance to talk about Squidbillies, Tom Goes to the Mayor, or Xavier Renegade Angel. I don't give a shit about Robot Chicken. Would have rather talked about any of those instead.
Got it.
Rats
okay,
off
so
to ya.
safe to say that that's not on your Mount Rushmore. Davis, were you a Boondocks guy?
Huge Boondocks guy, actually.
That's what I thought. That's why I expected you to bring that up last segment, which is why I did not myself.
Yeah, no, I was between that and Venture Brothers when I brought Venture Brothers. Boondocks played a huge part in my college years, I will say. I lived in a house that featured that a lot. And the quotes...
It's a weird way to say it.
Yeah, well, okay, well, the name of our college house was the Black House, and I think I was the only Caucasian guy in the house at the time. And so a lot of the references...
Glad that you recognize that that's your status, by the way.
A lot of the quotes came up all the time. We watched it a lot. And it was...
Wait, BDNS canon is that you, John, and Tim lived together forever.
Yeah, that's true. You're blowing my mind here.
We're talking community college years.
Oh.
So. And Boondocks is just kind of covered culture very well. And did it in a very serious way, but also made it funny. Like, I mean, it hit pretty hard on a lot of different topics on civil rights and everything. But it did it in
R. Kelly trial.
Yeah, well,
Go tell it to your white bitch.
Grandpa was an amazing character in that.
R.I.P.
Yeah, Boondocks was another Cool's House Heroes show for me later on. I think for me too when I was at community college, actually, Davis. So, yeah.
And it was just
that all tracks considering we're the same fucking age. I don't know why that was like some sort of epiphany for me.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's when it came out, guys.
It was just a really good, well-written, funny show.
Pimp named Slickback, great character, voiced by Cat Williams. My favorite was when he returned. It was the episode where Riley was learning about bros before hoes, and they were trying to teach him that wasn't necessarily the thing. And like Pimp named Slickback talking about, it's like there's a million things I'd put before a hoe, and he was saying like money, absolutely, success, yeah, guaranteed. And he's like even a bacon in like a BLT where the lettuce is just right. Of course it's above a hoe, but he's like the bros, the homies, the dudes, whatever the hell you're calling yourselves these days. Never, no way. They look out for themselves.
I want to get a drop of that too.
All right. You may not, because there's another word he called him that.
Okay. Well,
was it Uncle Ruckus? Yeah, Uncle Ruckus.
Oh God,
was the character.
Tread lightly now.
Oh yeah, no, rewatch that show. Watch it for Uncle Ruckus for sure.
All right, well let's get to it. And again, apologies to any of the shows that we left out. I know there's a ton of anime that we could have gone down. Maybe a Toonami episode is in the offing as well. Down the road, Jeff. I don't know. Well,
Adult Swim had that like weird teeter-totter thing where there was a time where one day out of the week was just their Adult Swim comedy shows, and the rest of the days were anime. And then once they started getting like Family Guy and where the ratings were going, it like shifted the other way. And then anime was like the one night a week, or it was only on weeknights. And so the whole thing was like really bizarre. But almost every anime that I became a fan of, I feel like I got a taste of it on Adult Swim first. Trigun. We already mentioned Cowboy Bebop, Yu Yu Hakusho,
Inuyasha.
Inuyasha, Witch Hunter Robin, Rurouni Kenshin. They played, I think. Oh no, they played that like at 5 o'clock, and then they played it like on Adult Swim briefly. Yeah, I mean, there's like a million shows like that.
This is why I was so
Yeah, we don't have
excited
the
to do this
time.
episode because there
Oh,
are
Full Metal Alchemist.
Full Metal Alchemist. There are so many splinter points here with this episode, so I'm really excited the fact that we got to do this. So let's close it out with our Fantastic Four shows on Adult Swim. Who's ready?
I mean, sure.
Go ahead, Davis.
I mean, it's not easy because, like I said at the beginning of the show, you start looking back on Adult Swim, it's just great show after great show that you don't realize was actually a part of the network for sometimes because you just love it and you don't really always connect it to Adult Swim. But for me, the top four I would say are as Aqua Teen Hunger Force for the early years for sure. For the new age, you have to put Rick and Morty on there. I do think you have to do that. And then for the kind of sleeper in the middle that I don't think gets a lot of love from most people, but in our circle, it certainly does. Frisky Dingo does belong on the top four. And my last one, I'm between two, and it's tough. It's between Venture Brothers and Boondocks for me.
Ooh.
And
well, considering you brought up Venture Brothers,
I did.
Boondocks.
I did, but the more I look back on the influence and just the memories I have of these shows, and both bring back a ton for different friend groups, but I think I'd probably put Boondocks in there.
All right, Jeff.
I'm going Aqua Teen Hunger Force because the longevity, its pedigree, how long it was on, it's just like one of those faces of Adult Swim. I'll go Rick and Morty because I feel it's the standard bearer these days, and it is so popular, and just like is one of those cultural phenomenons. I think I'm gonna go C-Lab because that was another pillar and mainstay on the series, like on the network. And then, damn, dude,
that fourth slot.
It's tough because there's. I'll tell you right now, my favorite show on Adult Swim was Frisky Dingo. It does not make my Fantastic.
Ooh! Wow! Curveball!
It way too brief. I don't think enough people know about it. It's a forgotten gem, but I mean,
personal.
Frisky Dingo is the Kennedy of these. It does not make the Mount Rushmore, guys.
Wow.
Yeah, not to say that it doesn't have historical significance, but no, it's not one of them. I think. Damn, dude. There's a lot. You know what? Just because of its importance and actually getting Adult Swim established, I think I'm going to go Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Nice.
Those are my four.
Understand.
I love it. And I was thinking that we were going to go for a sort of clean sweep simpatico. And what I struggle with is, even though it is sort of the progenitor of Adult Swim, is if Space Ghost belongs on the Mount Rushmore.
I don't think you have Adult Swim if Space Ghost isn't a successful show.
Okay, well, so you've convinced me. So I will put Space Ghost Coast to Coast on there. I will put Frisky Dingo on there. I will put C-Lab 2021 on there. I mean, those three shows right there. I mean, we talked about at length how how influential I feel Space Ghost is to me personally, and like you just said, Jeff, for Adult Swim even existing and sort of changing the game on how these shows were done. C-Lab 2021, continuing on that tradition of Space Ghost, and just some of the funniest episodes of TV I've ever watched and rewatched. That C-Lab 2021, like you said, it was a pillar. That might be the most, like, the show that I think about the most when I hear the words Adult Swim, in terms of watching it when it was actually on Adult Swim. And along with that, my final entry, and it might maybe this will change. Maybe we'll have to chisel off Frisky Dingo for its very short run, but that's maybe the funniest TV show I've ever watched, and I'm so grateful that you introduced it to me, Jeff, and that we got to experience it together, and that we all still quote it to this day. The staying power of how funny that show is. We didn't even really talk about how like Frisky Dingo and C-Lab influence Archer. And we see things like in Archer that takes place in sort of their version of C-Lab, or jokes from Frisky Dingo that make their way into Archer, like, oh, Fat Mike 2, stuff like that. So I'm putting Frisky Dingo on there, and then my final entry will be Aqua Teen Hunger Force, another quintessential Adult Swim show. And I know leaving Rick and Morty off of there might be a mortal sin to some people, but it's my personal list. Those are my 4 right now on my fantastic 4 of Adult Swims: Frisky Dingo, C-Lab, Space Ghost, and Aqua Teen Hunger Force. So
did this guy even watch Adult Swim past 07?
maybe. I did a little bit. I did a little bit, but those
Come
are.
on, Grandpa. Get with the times.
You convinced me that Space Ghost belonged on the list for its influence. I almost left it off, almost like a mountain off to itself. But you convinced me, which knocked off Rick and Morty. So this is on
guys,
you.
I love Frisky Dingo, but I mean, if we're talking the 4 most influential or important shows on Adult Swim, I mean, it does not. It doesn't really matter.
I don't disagree with that.
Especially if you're going to have C-Lab. I mean, you don't need 2 Adam Reed shows. And I mean, one of them there was a while where Adult Swim was really C-Lab and Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Those were the 2 shows. And then everything was just built around them.
Yep, like you said, pillars.
Yeah,
and so I definitely get that, but I knew coming into this, it's like I can't not have Frisky Dingo on there just because of the sheer enjoyment that it gives me and still gives me, and I'm excited that Jeff, you're down to knock out a Frisky Dingo episode soon. Maybe we can do some watch along stuff. So if you are not familiar out there in the Nerdosphere with Frisky Dingo, it's on HBO Max, which the fact that it's on there vaults HBO Max to the top of my list in terms of streaming services. So good on you. That is going to do it for this edition of the Best Damn Nerd Show. Riku, I hope we did your suggested topic justice. Have a great week, everyone. And remember, if you're a nerd, always say it loud and say it proud.
Hey, everyone. Chris Seglia, CEO of the Tenno Media Network here. Thank you so much for listening to our content, but we need your help. Please rate us 5 stars, subscribe, and give us a shining review wherever you listen to this podcast. It really, really helps us out. And one more thing, please tell a friend if you can. Tell them Tasty Steve, Hanzo Gonzo, Markman, Rip, Ricky Replay, or someone who everyone loves sent you or something. That might help. Anyway, again, thank you for listening. And if you want more, make sure to check us out at www.ten-o.gg, www.10o.gg.